Listening Library presents When We Were Monsters by Jennifer Niven. Narrated by Elena, Briggon Snow, and Saskia Maarleveld. For James Earl Jones, who taught me about bone memory and soul stamina. Van Shank, my 6th grade teacher whose wisdom, humor, and belief in my big imagination transcended the walls of Westview Elementary and accompanied me into the world. Lucy Kroll, who told 13-year-old me that I was destined to be a writer. Will Schwalbe, my very first editor whose voice I hear as I write every word. For my mother, most of all, and for the teachers everywhere who nurture our wild and enormous dreams. It is true, we shall be monsters, cut off from all the world, but on that account, we shall be more attached to one another. Mary Shelley, Frankenstein.
The day before we kill Meredith Graffam is calm and blue, like Massachusetts in summer after the rain. The scent of earth and flowers and fresh, clean air. Just the perfect sunlit day. None of us will walk into the forest that night planning to commit murder. It's easy when you're surrounded by beauty and opulence and acres of privilege, when you're young and filled with possibility, to convince yourself that life will always be as rose-colored as this, and nothing can go wrong. At the end of a long, sweeping drive lined by the tallest trees, surrounded by forest and the sea just beyond, lies the campus of Brighton and Hove. The student body is, for the most part, present company excluded, comprised of the offspring of the very rich and the highly accomplished, who can afford to send them anywhere, but choose to send them here, to the woods of northeastern Massachusetts. But like every too bright place, darkness lingers at its edges. The wizard behind the curtain, the painting in the attic, hide. It's there in the hazing of first years that occurs each fall, in the ruthless competition among students, in the surrounding forest where each January for 16 days, 8 of the school's best and brightest are handpicked to live and study with someone world-famous and world-renowned at the Moss, the rambling old home of Moss Hove, our founder. We don't have secret societies at Brighton and Hove. Instead, we have Jan Term, its own elite, slightly nerdier organization of students past and present, our equivalent of being tapped. Everyone eager for the illustrious, powerful connections it promises outside these halls, in our real lives, in our future lives. Built in 1916, the Moss sits surrounded by 10,000 acres of pristine forest land, formally known as Merton Wood, informally as Murder Wood, with whole swaths of primeval trees and miles of unpaved roads, all of it owned by the school. Unless they're lucky enough to be chosen for Jan Term, most students don't wander too deep into Merton. A 17-year-old student was killed there in 1995, a tragedy, a blemish. The school is never forgotten. Proving that bad things can happen anywhere, even on a campus as beautiful as Brighton and Hove, even on a crisp, star-filled January evening. Even to the 4 of us. Effie, the orphan, who doesn't believe in ghosts but is haunted by them. Isaac, the legacy, who carries the world on his shoulders. Vanessa, the wallflower, who never thought she belonged. And Arlo, the prodigal son who returned to the school he walked away from 2 years earlier. We were just 4 individual people before Meredith Graffam, the Meredith Graffam, arrived at Brighton and Hove. She was the one who brought us together, and the one who tried to tear us apart. Tomorrow she will die. I will wish for today, the day before, this bright, calm, blue day, like Massachusetts in summer after the rain. Or better yet, 3 weeks before. The beginning of the new year, back when Graffam was still alive and I couldn't think of anything to write because the only thing that had ever happened to me was too painful. I was anxious for material, for a story of my own. And now I have one. Here it is.
Brighton and Hove Preparatory Academy, Parkerton, Massachusetts. December 15th. Dear Effie Green, congratulations on being selected for B&H's annual Jan Term Visiting Artist Series. With only 8 spaces available, competition for those slots was fierce, and you should be immensely proud of your hard work and talent. This year's theme will be immersive storytelling. During this 16-day experience, you will be living in the moss with our visiting artist, #1 New York Times bestselling author, Oscar-winning actor, director, and screenwriter, and Tony Award-winning playwright, Meredith Graffam. On completion of the class, one of you will be awarded a scholarship in the amount of $15,000 and the chance to have your work produced and/or published in your field or genre. Jan Term begins Wednesday, January 7th and ends Thursday, January 22nd. Please arrive January 7th. Pickup information will be emailed to you. Please note that the attached non-disclosure agreement and waiver must be signed, notarized, and returned before your arrival. This is to protect your work and the work of our visiting artist, and to grant permission to be filmed or recorded should the opportunity arise. If you have any questions regarding either document or your upcoming experience, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to seeing you on January 7th. Sincerely, Scott Booker, Dean of Students. Week 1.
Immersive Storytelling. Wednesday, January 7th to Sunday, January 11th. Session 1. Cast fears and inhibitions aside. Do whatever is needed to stand out. Lean into your strengths. Keep your eye on the end credits. What will you do to be the last one standing? If you don't have a story, create one. Everybody steals in commerce and industry. I've stolen a lot myself. But I know how to steal. Thomas Edison.
Effie. Wednesday, January 7th. I glance behind us, through the back window of the van, no longer able to make out the distant gleam of campus. Even with the brights on, Merton Wood is the darkest place on Earth. By contrast, the moss looks warm and welcoming, silhouetted against the sky, perched on a cliff overlooking the sea. At 40 rooms and over 14,000 square feet, its aging beauty makes me think of all the best houses in literature. Manderley, Thornfield Hall, Wuthering Heights. The 7 of us have spent the van ride huddled over our phone screens, making the most of cell service while we still have it. Dean Booker pulls into the drive, gravel crunching beneath the wheels, and silences the engine. For a moment, we sit there, phones forgotten, staring up at the house. Like every good Brighton and Hover worth their salt, I've heard the stories of Jan Term, that coveted experience enjoyed by only a choice few. Jan Term, which says to us, and everybody else, that we are the visionaries of our class, the ones poised to change the world through our art. "We're here," someone says, and I feel the words more than hear them. The van door opens, letting in a rush of cold air. Ness begins to gather her things, which have, in true Ness fashion, exploded across the seat. "This is what I don't like about winter," she's saying. "The in and out, heat, cold, the swaddling up head to toe like a penguin." Even when she complains, Ness sounds...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?